So I've been more or less following minimalism for the last 2 years or so, and definitely I would describe my house as very minimalist. And so I figured since I haven't done a house tour either, I would kill two birds with one stone here and give you guys a tour of my house and also kind of show you like what things I have and why I would define myself as a minimalist. So when I was younger, I actually lived in a pretty big home, and I can always remember as a kid, we just had a lot of stuff. It seemed like every closet that we had was full of clothes and decorations and like Christmas wrapping paper. And we had a basement too that had a lot of toys. And so I always had a lot of cool stuff growing up, but I can remember like when we would go on vacations, for example, it was always kind of stressful because we had a lot of pets too. I had like every pet imaginable when I was a kid. We had like gerbils, we had birds, we had hermit crabs. So I remember when we would go on vacation, it was like we had like 50 things we had to do. You know, we had to feed the birds and feed the guinea pigs. And so I feel like when I was younger, I had all of these different things. And then as I got older, I began to question, well, which of these things are actually, bringing me happiness? I've kind of decided to cut out a lot of the stuff that people tend to have. And I just don't really invite that into my life. So that being said, let's go ahead and start this tour. And we're gonna go ahead into the kitchen and I'll show you guys some of the different details there. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to mention first of all, the elephant in the room, okay? So the house that I live in is actually about 2,000 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And I know right off the bat, a lot of people are gonna be thinking, how is that minimalist? I thought if you were a minimalist, you had to live in like a tiny apartment. And so what you don't actually see is that attached to this house are actually 2 different apartments. So I actually rent out those 2 apartments and that helps me offset the mortgage. And so my actual cost for living here, to be honest with you, is probably the same, if not less than what many people are paying for, a very small apartment of half the size. So that being said, here we are in the kitchen. One of the things that people often ask me about is the pile of dishes that I have next to my sink. I usually have like 1 bowl, 1 plate, a knife, a spoon, and a fork. And that's because I live alone and like I don't really see the need to use all of these different plates, all of these different bowls and glasses, only to load up your dishwasher to then wash it and then put them all back in your cabinets. So I obviously do have like multiple plates, multiple glasses, but I find it easier to just use one of them and then just hand wash them between meals because it honestly takes you like 30 seconds. You leave it out to dry and then you never really have a full dishwasher that you have to take care of. Another thing that people often notice is that I don't really have a lot of pans. I have like my one main frying pan that I use for just about everything, and then I also have a cast iron skillet. Between these 2 things, that pretty much covers all that I need in terms of pans, and then I also have just 1 pot. I don't have like 15 different pots. Like I said, I can remember when I was younger, we had just like so much different cookware, but I literally have like just the basics here. I have 2 bowls, 1 cutting board, and then I have 1 pot. And if I ever find that I need more, I may just like make something in 2 batches. But like as a person living here alone, I'm not cooking that much food where I would need that. So the kitchen, to be honest with you guys, is a lot of empty space. Most of these cabinets you see behind me, there's nothing in them. But I like it that way because it's not full of like clutter in like 15 different cooking gadgets. I have just like the basic stuff that you need for basic meals and none of the extra. Okay, so coming right off of the kitchen, now we move into the laundry room. This is actually pretty interesting because this room actually used to be part of the wraparound porch, and then one of the previous owners finished it off and turned it into this laundry room, and then back behind me is the smaller downstairs bathroom. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you guys first is these shirts that I have right here, and this has been something that has been a huge source of stress in my life, and that is getting up every day and figuring out what to wear. So I do like clothes and I have like a lot of button shirts and stuff, but as far as t-shirts go, I used to just have so much stress about like what t-shirts I would wear every day. And I know it sounds silly, but I would spend like 5 minutes looking through all my shirts trying to pick out the right shirt. And if anybody relates to that, let me know in the comments, or am I just alone in that? So what I decided to do is I found a shirt that I really liked, and I'm kind of a tall person, so I have to wear tall shirts. So for me, finding shirts the right length was always just really difficult. So I found one shirt that I really liked. I ordered 3 of each in these 3 different colors. I'm wearing a gray one right now. So 95% of the time, I'm wearing one of these 3 shirts in either gray, black, or white. And that just like relieved so much stress in my life over what I need to, be wearing every single day. One of the other things you're going to notice throughout this house is there are a lot of mirrors. And that was actually kind of a style note from the past owner that I kept up with because I like mirrors as well. And I find it just kind of makes your space feel a lot more open. So you're going to see a lot of mirrors as we go through the house. And then another thing that I really liked that the past owner did, other than the kitchen, every single room in this house is actually painted the same color. And the reason that the old owner did that, he said it's because he used his decor, or his wife used the decor as a way to kind of bring color to the room, and they weren't messing around with like 15 different colors in their house. Another thing that I really enjoy in this room is my barn beam bench that I picked up. Now this is actually from an original barn, and this house is actually used to be a farm, and I have a barn on the property too, so that was very fitting. So the barn beam bench, and then I have a table from my old apartment here as well. So I do have a fair amount of seating in this house, and it is a lot of space for one person, but I like having that ability to invite people over and have larger groups and family over and kind of have space for everybody for holidays and things like that. Okay, so this is like the sore thumb right here for sure. This is like one of the only sources of clutter in my entire house. And this is a temporary like work shelf I put up. So when I moved in, I was doing a lot of projects. I was doing a lot of hanging of like artwork. And so I had this plastic utility shelf from my old apartment, which has kind of become a catch-all for my tools. But come this spring when I'm done with kind of all this interior work that I'm doing, this is definitely going to come out. But this is like the only big source of clutter right now in my house that has all of my different tools. And then over here, I actually leave this out all the time because I play guitar probably like 2 or 3 times a day. So I used to like close it all up and tuck it in that corner. But I don't really use this table, so I just leave my guitar on top. That way it's easy enough to pull that out. And then the one other thing that you'll notice in this room are my reusable shopping bags. As part of this whole minimalist thing, I feel like that also really bridges eco-friendly. A lot of people who are minimalists are also more eco-friendly, and I just got really sick and tired of like getting all these plastic bags and throwing them in the garbage. So I use my reusable shopping bags and I leave them out because if I don't, I won't see them. And then if I don't see them, I don't bring them to the store with me. Okay, so now we are here in the living room, and one of the biggest things people always mention when they come into this room, there's something missing from this room. I'm going to show you guys a couple of different shots. I'm sure a lot of you have picked up on it already of what is not in this room that you would expect in every other person's living room. So I'll give you a second to think about it. The answer is a television. So I do have a TV on the 3rd floor, but this was one of my favorite parts about this house when I first came in, is that even the old owner as well didn't have a TV in the main living area. And personally, I don't really like watching that much TV. I might watch an hour a week, and that's probably a lot, to be honest with you. My favorite show is Impractical Jokers. That's usually what I am watching, but I don't watch sports. I'm not into TV. And so for me, I would just much rather have this kind of sitting area where I can work, or I can play guitar, or I can read. And I also really enjoy the fireplace that I have here, so I leave the remote out for that. I turn this thing on pretty much every day in the cold, and I really like just sitting here and like playing guitar by the fireplace or working by it. One of the other things you'll notice, I do like plants. I only have 2 right now, but I am planning on getting some more house plants in the future. And again, that's kind of like what we're doing here, is using plants and decor as a way to kind of bring life and bring color to the room, rather than painting the walls and having all of these different colors on the wall. Instead, by using artwork and things like plants, you can bring that color out just through the objects that you have in the room. Now, one favor I want to ask you guys is, if you have enjoyed this video so far, obviously a fair amount of production went into this. If you like these more well-produced videos, all that I ask is that you drop a thumbs up on this video for the algorithm. It helps out and allows this video to get shared with more people. And obviously, the more people who see videos like this, the more I'll be able to make these higher quality videos. Now, one misconception I want to cover quick about minimalism before we continue is that I feel like a lot of people think minimalism means that you're also frugal and that you don't spend money. I would actually still define myself as a pretty frugal person. There are things that I do spend money on, but the things that I spend money on are things that I really highly value. One of the things I've spent a lot of money on recently, I spent a lot of money on a nice bed, but I literally spend 8 hours per day in that thing. I also have a watch that is a little more expensive than what most people would buy. And I also have a sports car, a Nissan GTR that I drive in the nicer weather. But one of the things I heard that really resonated with me is that you should spend the most money on the things that you use the most in life. And so the watch, for example, that's something I literally wear every single day. I wear the watch. The only time I'm not wearing it is like if I'm in the shower or at the gym or like working on something. So this is literally on my body probably 22 hours per day. As far as my bed goes, I spend 7 to 8 hours per day in it, so why not spend money on it? And then your car as well, the amount of time you spend in your car, you should be driving something that you enjoy. So I do spend money on things that I personally see value in, and I almost always consider how much time am I actually using these different objects, and those are the areas where I do spend money. Okay guys, so that wraps up the first floor. Now we're gonna go to floor number 2, and this is actually a 3-floor home, so there's gonna be one more after that. Okay, so here we are in the master bathroom. Now, there's not really much to show you guys in here. I'm not really sure what a minimalist bathroom would look like, but yeah, I have the basics in here. This house did come with a jacuzzi tub. So one of the things that's kind of funny about this house, I've never seen this before, but there's a 2-person shower here. So there's like 2 shower heads, which is actually really nice because you can turn on both shower heads and like get a really good shower. But one of the kind of funny quirks about me that a lot of people don't know, I actually take cold showers and I do it after the gym. So I literally never use this bathroom, to be honest with you guys. I've probably showered in here half a dozen times. Okay, so here we are now in the master bedroom. If you guys have been watching a bunch of my videos, you probably saw this room already because I was actually doing an Airbnb rental of this room for about a month and a half where they had basically access to this bedroom and then the bathroom across the hall. So I do use the bedroom now, but at first I wasn't because I have an extra bed in the attic and I was kind of testing out Airbnb to see what the income potential was like. So if you're curious about that, I do have a full video outlining my Airbnb experience. I'll have a card up on the screen where you guys can check that out, and I'll also link it up down in the description below. But as far as this room goes, not a lot going on in here. I do like antiques, to be honest with you guys, so I do have an antique mirror, antique dresser, and an antique desk that I purchased for this room. I already mentioned the bed I spent quite a bit of money on, but it is a very comfortable bed, and I can't say I have a problem falling asleep at night. Other than that, there's not really a lot going on in this room. One of the things that is funny is that this room does have a walk-in closet, but as you would expect, it's almost completely empty. The only thing that I have in here is basically my luggage for when I'm traveling, extra bedding, bottles of water for when I was doing the Airbnb, and then an ironing board. So it's just funny to me, there's a lot of space in this house and a lot of closets that are honestly just completely empty because I keep my clothes in the other bedroom. All right, so that's the front half of the second floor. Now we're going to take a look at the back half. And this is where my office is, as they say. This is where the magic happens, the YouTube magic. So I've got quite a bit going on right now. I oftentimes will write up multiple different things for videos. So I have those kind of plastered around the walls right now. But this is basically the office. I'm a big fan of whiteboards, and that just helps me with organization, having everything in front of me. And the other thing that's really cool about this room is that the carpet actually has really thick padding under it, which I didn't put in here. It was in here to begin with. So the acoustics in this room are actually really good for recording. And I do have tenants, so I have someone below me and his bedroom is on the other side of this wall. So having, you know, the thick padding in the carpet is actually really helpful in terms of the noise and keeping the noise down. But yeah, not really a lot going on here in this office. People always ask me like what this is here. I have a little thing of bourbon. I don't actually drink in my office. I do like bourbon, but I don't like drink while I'm working. That's literally just there for my display. Because when I'm recording videos, basically I shoot them in this desk for the most part. I use this ring light, and that's pretty much where I do things. And obviously, I'm sure because you guys saw the thumbnail, the Cheerios and milk, that's just kind of a funny prop. I was just kind of trying to riff on the whole minimalism thing because people think that you're doing all this weird stuff. So no, I don't actually eat cereal out of a hat. That was just clever camera work there for the thumbnail. So this is just an empty milk carton and then a box of Cheerios. But I don't actually eat cereal in my office. Okay, so that wraps up the second floor. Now we're going to go up to the third floor, which is kind of the hangout room and where the spare bed is as well. All right, so here we are on the third floor. This is what I made the hangout space. And this is kind of different than what the previous owner did. So the person before me who owned this, he made this the office. I was tempted to do that, but the ceiling is so low up here, it was very crowded when I was standing up, so I made that extra bedroom there the office rather than doing that the other way around. I don't really have a lot up here, and to be honest with you guys, I don't spend a lot of time up here. I do watch movies, or like I said, Impractical Jokers once in a while, where I'll come up here or have some friends over. One of the things that's kind of cool, I have one of those lift top tables here, but I actually don't ever eat up here, so that doesn't really get used. And other than that, I just have a spare bed up here when people are staying over, or when I was doing Airbnb and I had Airbnb guests, that was where I was staying. And then one other thing that I do have up here that I like playing once in a while, I have some board games, Mastermind, Rummikub, and I haven't played that Monopoly game yet. And then downstairs, I have my chess set. I do like playing chess once in a while, so that is one thing that I do enjoy. I have an Xbox and I have a Nintendo Switch, but to be honest with you guys, I haven't turned on either one in a good 6 months. And video games, I have a love-hate relationship with them, because when I was younger, I was very addicted to playing video games, and it was kind of a way for me to escape and have like this different world where I felt, you know, I guess better about that character than my own life. So now I kind of don't really get into the video games as much, just because I don't really find it something that I enjoy. I honestly spend most of my time playing guitar, or I travel a lot, or I go on walks and do things like that. So I just personally find I enjoy doing those things more than like locking into a screen. And there's nothing against that. That's just personally not something I'm interested in doing. So anyways, guys, I want to go ahead and wrap up this tour by giving you guys a couple of pointers on why I live this way. Why do I feel that less is more? And why am I not filling my closets with stuff and having all this extra stuff that just doesn't really bring me happiness? So one of the biggest perks for me for this lifestyle is that it literally takes me 30 minutes to clean my entire house. If you couldn't tell looking around, I'm a pretty OCD cleaner and I keep things very neat. But I mean, it honestly doesn't take me any time at all to clean my entire house, because I don't have all this extra stuff. You know, I don't have to clean up all the stuff off the floor before I vacuum. I don't have to brush all these crumbs off the countertop, because I keep things pretty clean. And when you don't have a lot of stuff cluttering your space, it's just easier to maintain all of those things. I'm not messing around with fish tanks or gerbils and all that stuff. And that's just, some people really do get enjoyment out of that, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I just personally don't find that those things serve me at this point in my life. Another reason why less is more is that I literally never lose anything. I'm knock on wood, I will do that just because I don't want to now lose things, but literally I can't remember the last time I lost track of something, because looking around, everything has a home. My guitar is almost always right there. Now, if you lose a guitar, that's pretty bad, but I always have a home for everything. My keys go on the key rack, I keep my wallet in a certain spot. So it's almost impossible to lose things because everything has a home, and then if you don't just throw stuff around, there's like no way that you could possibly lose things. So that's another perk to it. And then third and finally, I don't really spend that much money on things for my house. I have a pretty full house. I have the furniture that I need. I'm not frequently out there buying knickknacks. I'm not buying like random decor. I don't cycle through different decor. With the exception of this right here, this is the extent of my Halloween decorations right here, my 3 pumpkins on my table. But other than that, like, I'm not buying decorations for all these different seasons. I kind of just have like static decor that I leave out year round. And at the end of the day, guys, the best way I can describe minimalism, for me anyway, is that everything that I bring into my life and that I bring into my home, I do so with a purpose. So I'm just very purpose-driven when I buy something like a piece of furniture or a piece of artwork or even a plant or something like that. I always buy things with a purpose, and I look especially for things that are going to, you know, add value to my life. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to this channel and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. And also make sure you guys do follow me over on Instagram. I post a lot of behind the scenes stuff over there. So if you want to see all that, make sure you follow me there. But it's going to wrap up this house tour. Thanks so much for coming, and I will see you guys in the next video.